Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you for your time. I am continuing with the series Black Lives Matter Investigations because I'm trying to answer the question, where is the money? I have been investigating the Black Lives Matter chapters for almost a month now, trying to understand how they use the money that people invest. This video message focuses on Black Lives Matter Toronto, Canada. And I'm trying to answer the question, where is the money? Here are the Black Lives Matter chapters as listed on the www.blacklivesmatter.com website, which is the home base for the Black Lives Matter entity. All of the chapters listed above Toronto, Canada, I've investigated. And the results of the investigations are on my YouTube channel, Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. And I invite you to go out and click on each one of those chapters so that you can learn where the money goes and how those chapters operate. But again, this video message focuses on Toronto, Canada, the first international Black Lives Matter chapter I've investigated. Here are the questions that I ask when I investigate each chapter. I'm looking for answers to who are the leaders, what are the leadership names, what is the mailing address, what is the phone number, what is the email or social media platform, is it registered with Charity Navigator, is it registered with GuideStar? Those two platforms provide information about how nonprofits function if they are nonprofits. Is it registered with the Secretary of State office? Does it have a 501c3 status? Does it accept donations? If it accepts donations, how does the Black Lives Matter Toronto, Canada use the donations? In other words, where is the money? And does it exhibit financial transparency to show us clearly how they use the money that people invest in the chapter? Now, of course, I could just go to the next slide and show you the results or show you the answers to the questions, but I prefer to walk you through the steps to demonstrate how I got the answers to the questions so that if you want to investigate further, you will know the steps to do so. So I'm going to pause my screen just for a moment to go to the Black Lives Matter Toronto's website so that I can walk through the steps to show you how I get the answers to the questions. Thank you for your patience while I pull up this website. Again, I think it's important to show you, to demonstrate how I get the answers to the questions. And I've done this for each one of the chapters I've investigated. So now I am on the Black Lives Matter Canada, and you will see they use the word Canada and Toronto interchangeably. But this website is for Black Lives Matter Toronto, Canada. Okay. And I distinguish that because there are 3 Black Lives Matter chapters in Canada, but this one is for Toronto. Now, I would say that I really like the layout of this website. It is the best looking website that I've seen through my investigations so far. It is an excellent website. It looks professional. The information is easy to read, easy to find. And I just like it. I like the layout. I like the layout of it. So I commend them on the layout of this website. We are on the home page, and normally the home page will list leadership names, mailing address, phone numbers, email, and all of the contact information is normally listed on the home page. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go to the About Us section here. About us, Black Lives Matter Canada, or Toronto, is the Canadian chapter of Black Lives Matter. Now, that statement right there is confusing because there are 3 Canadian chapters, and it says this one is the Canadian chapter, which is one of 3 Canadian chapters. An international organization and movement fighting police and state violence and anti-Black racism. And then they go on to say, I'm going to increase the size so you can see a little bit better. Then they go on to say, we are a platform upon which Black communities across Canada can actively dismantle all forms of anti-Black racism, liberate Blackness, support Black healing, affirm Black existence, and create freedom to love and self-determine. We work to forge critical connections and to work in solidarity with Black communities, Black-centric networks, solidarity movements, and allies in order to dismantle all forms of state-sanctioned oppression, violence, and brutality committed against African, Caribbean, and Black, I don't know what CIS means. You can put it in comments and let me know what that means. Queer, trans, and disabled populations. All Black lives matter. So that's their statement about themselves. And then they have the defundthepolice.org reference there. Okay, I'm going to skip over donate for just one moment and go to defund the police demands. Not really going to get into this too much. You're hearing a lot about defunding the police now in response to the police brutalities that we've seen highlighted in our news, our media, on our platforms. So now there is a call to defund the police. So here are the demands: defund the police, demilitarize the police, disarm the police, dismantle the police. I'm not going to read all of this, but what they're basically saying is they would like to have some of the budget for the police in Toronto to be reallocated to community-based programs. And so they outline all of their demands here. One thing I've noticed about all of the Black Lives Matter chapters is they always have demands, but they never state how they plan to implement policy for the demands to be met. You can demand anything, but what is the next step? A demand is the same thing as identifying a problem that you want to be solved. You are demanding that a problem be solved, but what steps are you proposing to take to solve the problems? I haven't seen that on not one Black Lives Matter website. Not one. Not one step action. Not one SAR statement, which is situation. What's the situation? That's the S. What's the action that you're going to take to address the situation? That's the A. And what's the R? What would be the results of the actions that you take? I haven't seen not one situation, action, or result statement on any Black Lives Matter website yet. The legal resources that they provide, that this website provides, is this is a great list of legal resources. I like the layout of it. It's simple. It's easy to follow. Someone really did a great job putting together this information. They have embedded links that you can click on to make it easy to follow, easy to find information. So I'm very impressed, and it's neat. I love neat, visually appealing websites, and this one meets that expectation. Proud, I don't know what that means, but I think it's referencing, oh yeah, I know this name, Marsha Payette No Mind Johnson. I just saw something on Google recognizing her for her activism in the gay community when she was alive. And then it references Black Pride, okay? And then demands. Now here is a page of demands that are a list of demands that have been developed over the years as crucial systemic changes that can make life far more livable for Black and African people of Toronto. Crossed out demands have been achieved. So again, this is a nice visual of what the demands are in Toronto, Canada, and the ones that have um, crossed out, they've been met or they've been achieved. It would be nice to add a little link here underneath the ones that have crossed out to show how they were achieved. You know, a little link that says how they were achieved. That would be great. Good information for investors to see how you work, to see how you make things happen. So I would recommend doing that going forward. So let's go back now to the donate button. Here's the donate button. And with this one, it says how to support us. We are an organization completely supported through community donations. So they are supported by their community. You can currently donate to our operating budget. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. This needs to be a link. Operating budget needs to be a link for people to see it. You want to show your operating budget so people will understand, where is my money going? The operating budget will answer that question. It's crucial to show that. You reference it, but what is it? How much is your operating budget? What items are itemized on your operating budget? That would really boost your investments if you could show where the money is going. That's what every Black Lives Matter chapter website lacks, an operating budget that you can click on and see where the money is actually going. To send a check, you can tell this is Canadian, the way they spell check. To send a check, please make it out to Black Lives Matter Toronto and send to, and they have an address here. So that answers one question. What is the address? Here it is here. Okay, that's the address. And they also provide different donation levels. Basic, silver, basic is 10, silver is 25, gold is 50, platinum is 100. And if you want to customize your amount, and then donate now. So that's the Black Lives Matter website. And once again, I do commend them. It is the best looking website that I've seen of all the Black Lives Matter chapters so far. Now, I can tell you that since this is in Canada, it's not registered with the IRS in the United States. It wouldn't be registered with us. But I will go to the Canadian version of the Secretary of State's office. Now, this is let me make sure I'm sharing my screen here, making sure we're looking at the same thing. Okay, so this is the Government of Canada Federal Corporation information. And I've gone ahead and looked to see if Black Lives Matter has a chapter actually registered in Canada, and it does. There is a Black Lives Matter Corporation. It is active, and it's been active since, look, June the 15th, 2020. So someone just created it, just incorporated it in June the 15th. Now, this is the registered agent's address. And you may have noticed, if you picked up on the address on the website, that this address is nowhere near the address on the website. It is totally different. Now, that doesn't mean that this website, Toronto, Canada's website, doesn't match up with this registration, but we just don't know, because this is the Secretary of State's office for Canada. So remember, I said there are 3 Canadian Black Lives Matter chapters. So this one could be the one that I just looked at, Black Lives Matter Toronto, or it could be one of the other 2. I don't know. We can't tell. And because there were no listings for leadership names, I don't know if this person is the leader of the Black Lives Matter Toronto division or not, because on the website there is not a leader's name. I find it odd that the minimum number of directors in Canada that's required, that's board of directors members, is only 1. and a maximum of 10. So you can manage an organization with just one person. How can you manage yourself? But anyway, I guess that's how Canada works. So again, this organization just became incorporated on June the 15th, and it's called Black Lives Matter Corp. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to pause my screen so that I can go back to the PowerPoint presentation to provide the answers to our questions. I'm sure you already know the answers to the questions based on my investigation, but I just want to show you. So we're going to go back to get the answers. And here they are. Here are the answers to the questions. Okay, so leadership names? No, didn't see any. Mailing address? Well, there was a mailing address. I take that back. Let me correct that. That's a mistake here. There is a mailing address. So that should be yes beside mailing address. Phone number? I didn't see a phone number. Email or social media? Yes. They provided an email address. Of course, it's not on Charity Navigator, GuideStar. It's not registered with our Secretary of State's office. It's registered with their Secretary of State's office. So I will change that to yes too. It's not with our IRS. Donations accepted? Yes. I don't know why I answer these questions incorrectly. Donations are accepted, but we don't know where they're allocated. So we don't know where they're allocated, and there's no financial transparency. So let me go back and point out my errors here. This is going to be changed. The mailing address will be yes. Secretary of State's filing will be yes. Donations accepted will be yes. And I apologize for those errors, but I demonstrated how I found those answers. Okay, so continuing on to the next page, I have compiled all of my results for the chapters I've investigated thus far. So here is part 1 of the comprehensive investigation results. Okay, what that means is I've listed the chapters, the Black Lives Matter chapters I've investigated, and I've put the results or the answers to the questions here. And I'll just give you a few moments to look over these answers. You have the global network, that's the home base. That's the one that you will find at blacklivesmatter.com. That's the global network. It's called Global Network Foundation. Now they keep changing the name, but that would be the home base. That is the original blacklivesmatter.com chapter or entity. And then you have the chapters underneath it: Boston, Chicago, DC, Denver, Detroit, LA, or Los Angeles, Lansing. So as you look at this information, I'm just going to point out what's in red. Under Denver, you can see R. R means revoked. That means the IRS 501c3 status is revoked. But if you jump down to the next one, the next row, it says donation accepted. It's a yes. So that means the Denver, Colorado Black Lives Matter chapter is still accepting donations fraudulently, because once the IRS revokes your status, you have to cease accepting donations because people can't write it off. You are accepting donations on false pretenses because you don't even have a status, but you're still taking money. And that's what the Denver Black Lives Matter chapter is doing right now. Donations allocated, I have X's all the way across, meaning I don't know. I don't know where the money is. I don't know how they allocate donations. So that's what that means. So none of them demonstrate financial transparency, none of the ones listed on this page. The next one, results part 2, you have, I'm looking at the red boxes again, New York City. New York City has a revoked status, but they are still accepting donations. So they're in the same situation as the Denver Black Lives Matter chapter, accepting donations without a status. That's fraudulent. And again, we don't know where the money is going for Long Beach, Memphis, Nashville, New York City, Philadelphia, South Bend, Indiana, or Toronto, the one that we're currently talking about. We don't have any financial transparency, but yet most of them are accepting donations. So where do I stand as a Black woman born and raised in South Carolina? where do I stand regarding how I feel about the Black Lives Matter chapters, entities, and the movement itself? I support the Black Lives Matter statement of fact. That's how I look at it. I look at Black Lives Matter being a statement of fact because, of course, Black lives do matter. And it makes me proud to see diverse groups of people marching for change on behalf of Black people. That's point number one. But my second point is this: I do not support the Black Lives Matter movement, chapters, or entities because they do not have formal leadership structure. You cannot find any leadership names, former leaders of Black Lives Matter chapters on any of the sites. Now, I found some people who were listed as organizers, but as far as the leaders, I couldn't find any leadership. So there's no leadership structure from the top down. There are no measurable goals or objectives. I don't know what you're doing. You're making a lot of demands, but demands have to be turned into action plans that you can implement to make change. You can make demands all day, but if you don't have any goals or objectives to tell us how you plan to implement those demands or meet those demands, then you're wasting time. Common operational practices, none of them operate the same way. There are some similarities in statements, but none of them have common operational practices. There is no financial transparency or accountability. Even the ones that take donations, they don't tell you where the money goes. And they don't have a valid sustainability or long-term plan. There is nothing that tells me that any of the Black Lives Matter chapters will exist next year. I don't see anything that says or shows me that they have the viability to even exist next year. There are no long-term plans. There are only demands. So this is where I stand as a Black woman born and raised in South Carolina, having had my share of racism, or having experienced my share of racism. This is where I stand regarding Black Lives Matter. Just because it says Black Lives Matter doesn't mean I support it. You have to show me what you are doing in the Black community, which I do not see anything that you're doing in the Black community. So that's where I stand. Coming up next is episode number 17, which is Black Lives Matter Waterloo, Canada, another Canadian division of Black Lives Matter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just click on the subscribe button. And also don't forget to click on the little bell so that you'll be notified when I upload new information to my YouTube channel. I do more than talk about Black Lives Matter. I do more than investigate Black Lives Matter. I do provide information on how to start, fund, manage, sustain, and reinstate 501c3 nonprofit organizations. I also teach people how to write grant proposals. So there's more information on my YouTube channel other than Black Lives Matter investigations. Again, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Please visit my website at trustsusanwoods.com to see the other services that I provide. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.